All right. Welcome, everybody, to our Monday night empowerment session, where we are going to be talking about unlocking enzyme magic. It's probably the first part of a two-part presentation that I'll do, addressing timing and when and how to take your supplements. But as always, if you're interested in receiving text alerts or reminders right before I go live, approximately 15 minutes before, text the word learn to 1-866-256-1970. And again, I have those set up to where those alerts go out about 15 minutes before. And not only do they have the link to this presentation so you can join in, they also include a link to join into the 7 o'clock presentation, Stories of Hope Live. And then I also include a recording from the week before. So with that all up and running, let's jump in and let's get started here. So tonight's focus, in order to help drive this home and help understanding, is tied specifically to Bella Health and the use of enzymes and how we position those in that program and why it makes such a difference in the ways that you take them. And a lot of people, like I had said in my intro before, I get this question a lot, when, how, why, does it matter? Well, in this case, specifically talking about enzymes, it matters, and it matters a lot. And so I want to share with you the reasons why. Let's start with the first one, which to me is kind of an obvious one, because in the Bella Health program, you are also taking one Enzyme before breakfast and lunch. And you can also do that before supper as well, if you want to. Because enzyme benefits when it comes to meals are a little bit different. Now, a lot of people are not aware that I end up with a lot of clients that have either got impaired or missing organs that are tied with digestion. They might be having challenges with their gallbladder or their pancreas or liver. And so when we add an enzyme in, that helps address that. Not only that, but as we age, for instance, when you're about 16, your enzymes are strong enough, or your hydrochloric acid in particular, is strong enough to strip the paint off of a car. But as you age and you hit the age where I am, and as we keep on going, and I'm going to be 58 here next month, but as we age, our enzymes become more diluted. They're not as strong as they used to be. And I really believe that addressing digestion makes a massive impact on our health. So let's look at some of these other reasons so you understand why. Now, it seems kind of obvious that it's going to help break down food. And many of you have seen my demonstration where I take the packet of instant oatmeal and I open up 2 enzymes, pour it in there, mix it up just like you would to have it for breakfast. And then I let it set. And I also have another bowl that has no enzymes in it, and come back an hour later. And it's very obvious that the bowl with the enzymes, it's so syrupy, you can just pour it out. Whereas the bowl that did not have the enzymes, you can hold it upside down and the oatmeal stays there. So when you break down your food, you automatically have better absorption. When you have better absorption, less energy is being pulled from the body from other areas, whether it's being used to help you get a physical activity taken care of, or focus for studying or taking a walk. If your body is better able to digest, it's not pulling energy from other areas. So you, in general, feel better, more energetic. When you break down your foods better, you're going to have better bowel transit time. It's going to challenge indigestion. And again, these are benefits when you time those enzymes specifically for when you have your meal. Now, when you have undigested food, yes, it's more than just the bloating or the, discomfort that happens. You actually create health challenges because the body is instead of looking at your food as a benefit or nutrient dense product, it actually starts to kind of look at it as a toxin or the enemy. And the longer it sits there, in particular, if the bowels are not running efficiently or 2 to 3 times a day, based on how many meals you're having a day, then that food has more of an opportunity to putrefy and creating dis-ease. And this impacts your mental and emotional health. So when we are having enzymes with our meals, it can counter a lot of this. It's pretty amazing to me the difference that people feel when they step in and start using enzymes. Now, I do have a very in-depth webinar recording here on the YouTube channel that goes into what happens with using enzymes in particular, and that's where you can see that other demo. But I also want you to be aware of how much of your mental and emotional health is impacted by whether or not you are feeling discomfort and whether or not you're breaking down your food. In fact, think about it. If you're bloated and got that churning, you don't feel great. You don't think well. Let's think about Thanksgiving. People overeat. They have challenges digesting, and people, I mean, it's well renowned that people want to take the Thanksgiving nap afterwards because of all that food that they've had. Now, other things that happen when we break down our food from our meals is the memory itself is better, not just our mental outlook, but our memory. And then because we're not having as many of those toxins, we're going to have clearer skin. Now, this is the part that most people are familiar with. Where I really want to go in and show you the focus is in the other part, which is the enzyme benefits on an empty stomach. Because if you remember, in the Bella Health program, you take a final round of enzymes and your ProBio IQ on an empty stomach before bed. And a lot of people have no idea why they're doing this. So let's look at it. So let's assume that you've taken your Vertizymes with your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if you decide to add that in. Then what the enzymes will do is, because you've gotten more food broken down, you have more nutrients available in your system. That ties to some of that energy I was talking about. It ties to some of that mental clarity. But it also is going to work on other issues in the body. It's then going to go sometimes directly almost into the bloodstream, where it starts breaking down other undigested toxins or bacteria or things from other meals or areas of the body that started breaking down. If you're dealing with a virus, for instance, it is well known that a lot of viruses have protein shells, and an enzyme can help break down that protein shell to allow your immune system to more fast, quickly, and effectively do its job and go after that virus. When the body's not having to use those enzymes because the stomach's empty, it can go in and clean the system. So different types of crystalline deposits can happen. A lot of people are familiar with that pain that can happen when you're not breaking those down, like uric acid crystals as well, not just crystalline deposits, but inflammation, any type of body congestion and pain. Enzymes are incredible, and it fuels virtually everything. It can be impacted by taking enzymes. I have used enzymes on a regular basis for pain. A lot of you know that if someone gets a headache, or if it's been years, but if I might end up with a migraine, I will reach for Vertizymes and the PI together because of how it helps to go after that inflammation or fibrin. A lot of you remember I was talking about earlier in the year, some of the challenges I had with an old knee issue. And actually it was 21 years ago, they gave me an ACL graft, but it wasn't done correctly. And then they did what's called a lateral release, and they cut open a bunch of muscles in my leg. This was not something I asked them to do. They took liberties while I was in surgery and did this. And I've had a lot of challenges with being able to use that leg as well as the other one. Well, I've gotten the opportunity, and notice how I phrase it. It really is an opportunity to address that in this past year. And part of it is really upping my Vertizymes on empty stomach at different points during the day because of how it goes in and works on something called fibrin, which is going to be tied in with that inflammation, that congestion. It creates pain, all that swelling, that type of stuff can happen. And enzymes are very good at breaking that down. Well, it also can address cholesterol deposits. Remember, cholesterol is an indicator that something's out of balance in the body. It's like the asphalt crew on the road going in and patching the holes in the road. So when you take those enzymes on an empty stomach, if the body needs this, and if this is in the order that it feels it needs to heal, it can go in and address that. It's going to work on helping reduce out of balance bacteria. It helps your white blood cell size and activity to be stronger. Like I was saying before, it helps to assimilate and remove those toxins in the body. Yeast, so yeast overgrowth, again, things that are out of balance. The body doesn't make mistakes in how it heals or reacts to things. It is always going to do what is best for your survival. And sometimes as a result of different antibiotic treatments or medicines in general or diet, the yeast gets out of balance. The body's doing its best job it can to counter that. But when you're using those enzymes on that empty stomach, and think about in the Bella Health program, how not only are they going on an empty stomach, but we're adding the ProBioIQ into it, it really gets to address yeast as well. This is why I like it in a big part whenever I've got someone that's come to me dealing with candida out of balance. I referenced the uric acid crystals. So that tends to tie into conditions that people are familiar with that go by the name of gout. Well, let's think about what's happening. They're not breaking down certain foods properly. So if we're giving those enzymes, not only when they're eating, but now on that empty stomach, it's like sending out the cleanup crew to get and work on that. And of course, like I was saying too, faster injury recovery time. There's actually really interesting studies out there comparing athletes and injuries between those that they gave the enzymes to and had them use them on an empty stomach, as opposed to those that had placebos. It was almost twice the recovery time required when they did not use the enzymes. So this is very beneficial. In fact, I have taken the Veritizymes, opened it up and added it to like a distilled water or a purified water and put it topically on areas that had swelling as well, because it's right there on the site, and go in and address that area. This is one that a lot of people are not familiar with. When you use enzymes on that empty stomach, the surface area of your red blood cells, it gets more availability, more surface area availability. When it's more available, you have more ability to carry oxygen. Now, granted, that's not the only component involved with that, because iron count, things like that tie in with that. But if your red blood cells are not laid out like they should be, you cannot carry the oxygen. Now, let me give you our oxygen. Let me show you what that looks like. So here's what normal blood cells, healthy blood cells, should look like. And this is in something called dark field microscopy. This is what they look like. That's great surface area. Now, this is what it looks like when they don't have the surface area. This is what they do. See, they're stacked on top of each other, almost like pancakes. We call this rouleauing. Can you see why that someone who has this rouleauing going on just doesn't have energy? They can't get their breath well. They can't think. They just don't feel well. Imagine trying to have that circulating throughout your system. It just makes the challenge so much harder. So when a person has got that rouleauing, and that can come from multiple different reasons, but one is being unable to break down your foods properly. By taking those enzymes on that empty stomach, along with at the meals, it can correct that, and it beautifully spaces out the cells, and all of a sudden they can do what they are designed to do. Now, I know that was short, but like I said, this is part one. I've got several other things I want to make certain that I bring in next week that's going to help explain more the importance and reasons for timing and how we utilize our supplements. But that was one of the biggest ones. I really want to share that. And so this quote, I really feel kind of underscores this information. and that is that health is much more dependent on our habits and nutrition than on medicine. So if we think about that, that habit of taking that Vertizymes with your meals that we introduced in the Bella Health program, and then on an empty stomach, not only have you created a new habit that allows you to get better nutrition, but you've also created a habit that helps the body to clean up and work much more effectively.